on Nights with Steve Price from the 50-Up Club. Christopher Zinn.
Young Christopher, how are you?
I'm very well, feeling very young at heart, if not in longevity.
How could you not be in grand final weekend? The sun's out, the frangipanis, and it's just beautiful at the moment. I noticed in the Sydney Morning Herald today, a Fairfax publication, that New South Wales, and I imagine our friends in Queensland it wouldn't be much different, but in New South Wales, those aged over 65 are outnumbering the under-15s for the first time in many of our state's communities.
Exactly, and it's particularly around the Central Coast, the North Coast, Illawarra, Shoalhaven, and the Tablelands in the southeast. So, look, this is the demographic bubble that began at the end of World War II. It's coming through the system, and, we're going to be much older. And, in fact, by 2055, and there's going to be 40,000 people aged over 100. So we're living longer.
Incredible.
There's a lot more people in this area, so there's a lot of demographic change coming.
You go back, this story is intriguing. You go back to, and these figures are done by the Department of Planning and Environment, go back to 1981, not that long ago, most of us can remember 1981, there was 1.3 million children under the age of 15 in New South Wales and only 528,000 people over 65.
It is a remarkable switch. I mean, I would only say, and with respect to demographers, that they must have seen this coming years out. I suppose the actual longevity, the fact that we are living so much longer, might have been less predictable. But let's hope the planning has been done, that then they're not going to be caught short in the way that we found with primary schools and baby booms, where the infrastructure wasn't there. We know that there's going to be many more older people. They need health care, they need housing, they need age care. So there can be no excuse for, say, 10, 20 years from now, suddenly people expressing some sort of surprise at the high demand there is for these kind of services.
Tell you what to invest in, healthcare and nursing homes.
Yeah, and the funeral industry. I mean, all these are...
Thanks, Chris.
Enormous growth. There's enormous growth. I know about the funeral industry. I know that there's so many more people are going to be dying, living much longer and healthier lives. So that's a good thing. It's going to come to us inevitably. But there's no doubt that there is a terrific business and a great deal of change in all of these areas just by pure dint of numbers.
You've done some research, speaking of people over the age of 65, into grandparents giving free childcare. Well, they shouldn't give it for free. What should we do for our grandfolk who look after our children?
Well, look, in Korea, they actually pay about $800 a month, and that is quite normal. The issue here, it isn't research we've done. It's Australian Seniors and the Productive Aging Centre. They have very fascinating. There's about 840,000 kids looked after each week by grandparents. That's a country mile more than any sort of formal childcare or long days centre or anything else. So it is massive. But the issue is that it is actually costing grandparents significantly, both in terms of out-of-pocket expenses for feeding kids and transport and whatever, but also that 70% of them have altered the days and shifts they might work, 55% reduced their hours, and even 18% changed their jobs. So, and a third changed the timing or expecting timing of their retirement. So it's a significant impact on grandparents, and I suppose this report is saying, well, how are they being compensated and or recognised for that?
Well, it should be a two-way street. I mean, there's no way that they should be out of pocket. I mean, if you're going to ask your parents to look after your young preschool children, you should be providing the food and providing the money to pay for the food. And I'd be saying if you're doing it full-time, like dropping them off every day while you go to work, you and the wife and the children are with your parents or her parents, then, shout them a holiday a year or pay for fuel or, something.
Well, I would certainly hope so. Now, my mother-in-law's coming down to do the service over the long weekend while my wife and I are away, so I hope she's not listening.
I hope you're paying for the airfare.
Yeah, well, no, definitely. And look, there's no way that you could compensate what a grandparent actually brings. I suppose a lot of this report is really arguing that there's a policy black hole around this area, and grandparents do forego benefit. It can have an impact on their future employment opportunities. It's hard for them to say no. There is actually, in Britain, there is some sort of carer credits that go to grandparents who provide such childcare. As I've said, in South Korea, there is actually a system where people are paid, and in fact, $800, they're in fact demanding more, the grandparents. I don't know if they're actually going to work to rule, but they certainly see that there is a value in that, in what they do, and their children seem to believe likewise in terms of paying them. So I don't know if we come to that, but certainly this is a massive area of childcare. The economy depends on it. There's a whole lot of policies to bring women back to work soon after they've had children. But, it wouldn't work without grandparents. So how are we going to make sure that works for the grandparents in a more sustainable way?
Fascinating research. Christopher's in for